Alright, so we have here two beautiful Makita Marunokos round saw or circular saw. And these are the tools that we use a whole lot here in Japan during my carpenter apprenticeship. So I want to tell you a bit about the features of these saws and some of the modifications and what I do to set them up to do good work. And also some of the accessories we use all the time. So the two saws we have here, we have a battery powered one and a corded one. Yeah, this is a 125mm blade, this is a 165mm blade. This is more of the workhorse, and this is a saw that you can take up on the roof or take up on the scaffolding and do little trim cuts and stuff like that. I have a trim saw, the US Makita version, version of this saw. It's a 5¼ inch trim saw. Oof. It is, these Japanese saws are significantly better in terms of precision, clean cuts. The blades, both of these blades have left, right cutter teeth and a straight flat across tooth, so you get very clean cuts for joinery. Both of these saws, when you dial them in, which isn't too hard, will cut a pencil line right in half with very little tear out. And I have the trim saw and the hypoid US saws, and those are good saws. They're strong saws, but they're a lot rougher. These are precision tools, and it is just a completely different experience. I did a little research before I made this video, and everything on these saws, all this is die cast, thick material, nice thick base. Same with this one, die cast. This whole depth adjuster is a nice piece of die cast material. I think the US versions are just sheet metal. This is a stamped piece of sheet metal. This piece is a sheet metal. It's flimsy. The guide that comes with the trim saw is this just piece of trash. It's like a little piece of welded metal on a little bar, and it just you can use it sort of, but it's not at all for precision work. Okay, so features of the Japanese circular saws. These have two adjusters here for the angle adjustment, and built in is a roof pitch. So these are 2 and 10, 3 and 10, 4 and 10, 5 and 10. So you can just automatically set that angle. If you get that out of the way, it does the full range of angle. And with this little adjuster here, it actually will go back 5 degrees. So you can have a tapered cut 5 degrees in one direction, and then all the way up to 45 degrees in the other direction. But for when you get yourself set up to do little back cuts to get stuff to fit just right, this is amazing to have this little feature to do a good back cut. And on this one, the battery powered one, it actually will do 15 degrees back cut. Move this guy out of the way, and you have to bring up the blade a little bit. But you'll go all the way to 45, and if you press this trigger, it'll go all the way down to 15. So very versatile. And 2 adjusters on this as well. These 2 adjusters here and here allow you to adjust the position of these 2 items left and right. So you can get a situation where you have the front of the blade ever so slightly towed to the left, or to the right for that matter, or just dead on straight, which allows you to make a very clean cut. If you imagine you're cutting on the right side of the line all the time, if you have just the hair of relief on the back of the blade, like exaggerated, the blade turns like this. If you're cutting on the upstroke here, it's cutting on the front of the blade, and then the back of the blade comes down into the cut, and it doesn't tear it up at all like that. These are very well set up from the factory, so I haven't adjusted that at all. But I will go into the adjustments that I do make when I get these saws. All right. So I always get a hook. This accessory is available in most of the hardware stores here. This way you can hang it on scaffolding or hang it on a piece of wood, and it's not going to fall down, because you know, if you're constantly setting your saw down, these are going to get all nicked up and dented. Yeah, this one actually did get a little dent. And you don't want to drag this smooth metal surface across your wood with all sorts of burrs on it, because it'll fuck up the wood. For this one, I also added a string on the back. It didn't come with a string. I'm not sure why. Just, you know, if this you could hang over a loop or something, this is helpful to have. Both of the saws, I added a screw here, which allows you to pull the blade guide out of the way. Now I'm probably gonna get shit for this, but we're big adults now. We're big boys and big girls. If we think we won't set a saw down while it's running on the blade, because we'll always set it down like this, or we'll re-engage the saw guard. But when you're cutting thin cuts or very precise work or freehanding something, you don't want this resistance. It just gets in the way. So almost all the carpenters I know it here, and we're talking really skilled professionals. These are not, you know, they do very fine work. None of them are running these saw guides. All of them have all their fingers. They just pay attention. Think of it as the safety on a firearm. You know, the safety doesn't come back on after you shoot one bullet. You can take it off, then it's unsafe, sorta, and then you can put it back on when you're done. But that's what these screws are here for, so they hold the saw guides back. Another feature of this saw that I really like is this whole part will come off. You take these screws, and now you can come right up against, you know, something you're trimming to. Let's get this guy out of here. You can get really close into something you're working on. All right, along the same lines as being able to disable the blade guard, on the battery-powered one, I disabled this switch. Before, if this wasn't pressed this way or this way, you couldn't pull the trigger. Now, you can pull the trigger no matter what. Why did I do that? Why did I disable the safety on this? Well, because on this saw, the same button is actually the blade lock. So if I hold the trigger here, I can lock the blade, and that's good for rip cuts or, you know, whatever you want to do. So what would end up happening is I'd be using the saw like this, pressing this button and pressing this button to allow me to press the trigger. And then when I would come back to use this saw, I'd press the button and lock the blade. So I figured it's a little more unsafe for me to accidentally lock the blade on this saw than it is to press the trigger by accident. Because on this saw, you can also press the trigger by accident. So the safety feature, I don't really like it on this. It doesn't make any sense. So I just opened it up, and there's a little tab in there, and I cut it off. And then the other adjustment I make when I get these saws is I want to check that the blade is dead 90 degrees to the base. And the way I do that is I mark a line around a piece of wood, do a cut, check that line is square. And if it isn't, on this saw you adjust this screw, and that determines what 90 is. And on this saw, is it the same thing? Yeah, there's the same thing. There's the little screw in there, and that will determine if the natural position of the closed blade is this way or that way or whatnot like that. And once I have my blades squared up, I adjust this orange guide so that there's a little, on this one there's a little tick mark, because this is pretty wide and it actually doesn't go over the same amount that I wanted to. This one, it's this edge of the plastic. So I basically create a reference for me here so that I really can just bring it to the line and make my cut. Speaking of bringing it to the line, the accessories that are out here for these circular saws are incredible. These are all over the place, these saw guides. I imagine if you're a Western carpenter, you're going to take like a speed square, hold it against a 2x4 to make a quick cut. This they take that to a whole other level. This has it's very accurate, very precise tool. You can do all the angles. You can also do roof pitches, 3 and 10, that type of pitch. And when you lock it in there, you hold this, and it has a grippy tape here. Hold this on the side of the wood, make your cut. So I have a big one, and then I have a little pocket one that's useful for smaller pieces of wood. So rip guides too. We don't really have a lot of table saws, and there's really no job site table saw equivalent. But the rip saw guides, this one I actually have never used. I got it with the big saw, and it's fine, but it's just not as versatile as this little guy, which has a stop here if you want to make repeats. I never used that. This thing slides forward and back, kind of keep it in the middle here. And it slides in here, and it's very thin, so you can cut a piece of siding board, but you bring it up, lock it down, and then you're ripping your material like that. They also sell these where this bar comes out quite a bit, and so you can bring it out pretty far to cut a board to a certain length. And it's quite quick, and you can do it in all sorts of different scenarios. So this is a very useful accessory. I realized like you can get most of what you need to get done with a miter saw and a table saw with just one well set up circular saw here in Japan. All right, so I hope you found this valuable. I hope you are as excited as I was about these incredible Japanese circular saws. Makita makes really nice ones. Ryobi Japan, which is different from the Ryobi that's green that they sell at Home Depot in the United States, also makes just very precise and smooth circular saws, and Hitachi makes decent circular saws. I'm a total Makita fanboy, so I just kept it in the family. A coworker of mine has the Ryobi, and it's just as good. So, you know, it's to each his own, I suppose. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of this, and I'll see you next time. Hi, if you liked this video, please let me know by clicking that thumbs up, and consider subscribing to the channel by clicking the red subscribe button. Please check the notes below the video for more ways to keep this channel going. Your support is greatly appreciated, and always, never stop building.